After years of being idle, having dropped out of senior high school in 2016 due to poverty, Dawuni Isaac is now farming to feed not just his immediate family, but for other households as well, and also produce enough to supply across the country.
Since I stopped school, I'm doing farm and then doing charcoal. When you farm, you will not get fertilizer and then for the maize. So you have to do the charcoal and then get fertilizer for the maize. Because of the wahala day, we don't have any job here and then doing. That's why I'm doing the charcoal.
Just months into the farming business of cereals, and the cost of fertilizer has compelled this young man to take a drastic move. This 10-acre farm is being prepared to cultivate beans, in addition to his existing 20 acres of maize farms. The trees on the parcel of land are harvested for use for charcoal, a commodity in high demand in Ghana now due to the price hike for liquefied petroleum gas, LPG. Cut into pieces, the size of about 1.5 meters according to them, and piled up into layers. The hardwood log is covered with straw or grass and then with sun before it is set ablaze. Burning takes about 3 to 4 days or even a week, depending on the quantity of wood to produce the charcoal. The mound is only taken off after the burning and allowed to cool off for about 3 to 4 days. Alternatively, some producers go through the same process of collecting the end product, charcoal, in hours at nights, applying water intermittently at the mound when necessary to quench all fires. From my investigations, different types of tree species are used to produce charcoal in Ghana. Names such as the kani, yasala, neem tree, the dawadawa tree, bagna, anati, and the shea tree are mostly used in the north because of its prevalence. The availability of the raw material, wood, is sourced depending on one's location. Being economic and important trees, I'm told, the shea and dawadawa trees are allowed to be cut only with permission from local authorities for charcoal. Up north, the weather pattern drives their daily living. In the prolonged dry season of October to April, charcoal production is the most lucrative and readily available business having laid down their cutlass and hoes used to farm in the wet season of May to September. According to the Global Forest Watch, Ghana lost 1.4 acres of tree cover from 2001 to 2021, equivalent to a 20% decrease in tree cover since 2000 and 74 metric tons of CO2 emissions. Annually, 70,000 hectares of forest in Ghana are cleared for charcoal production alone. This makes charcoal one of the main drivers of deforestation and land degradation in the northern parts of Ghana.
They continue cutting a lot of the fresh trees in order to produce charcoal for livelihood reasons. It's been observed that even the shea that is very useful, because of the economic value that we get from the shea fruit, incidentally is also under attack.
We are harming ourselves. I'm saying so because if you allow the shea tree to be there, 10, 15, 20 years, you go and pick the nuts. If you cut it down, that is the end of the story. And so it's a worrying situation. But the weird thinking by many people is that the shea trees are on their ancestral land and they also need to make a living, and they think that the trees are just there for them to fall on. But we are finishing them.
What we do as a people, that does not give us the license to mow down all the trees for charcoal production. It's unsustainable. You cannot do that and survive.
According to a Food and Agriculture Organization FAO 2013 report, Ghana's annual average charcoal production is estimated at 1,625,226 tons. According to experts, the traditional methods of producing charcoal leads to high carbon emissions and a waste of wood resources.
There are sustainable ways of generating charcoal. One of it will be improved carbonization. You've heard about the improved stoves that we use, like ahibenso. Yes, so if you use those improved stoves, for example, then you don't have to be using too much of the charcoal to do your cooking, and by so doing you will be saving a lot of trees, because then you are not converting too much trees into charcoal in order to be able to use more. And then the other thing is also using improved kilns in producing the charcoal, and for that you make better recovery compared to the traditional way that you have to dig a pit and put the wood in and cover it. So there are improved ways, and I think it's catching up gradually. I'm sure the Energy Commission is also working very hard on those aspects.
Landscape restoration refers to the improving of degraded land on a large scale that rebuilds the ecological integrity and enhances people's lives. It has mitigation, reconstruction, and content as the three phases of landscape restoration.
Ghana, there's a lot of deforestation, forest degradation caused by the intensive production of charcoal. But the forests are very important, or the forest landscapes are very important for the people. Most of the people in these rural areas are living from the natural resources. So it's important to protect them, to make the use sustainable, otherwise they will lose it sooner or later. So that's why it's important to restore the landscapes and to protect the landscapes, to protect their functions, the functions of the forests and water bodies, etc.
But the reality is that more people than ever are depending on charcoal use, unlikely to continuously affect the tree cover and erase gains made. Demand for charcoal is soaring in the capital, Accra. 1. As an alternative fuel to LPG, and 2. Because it has a greater energy content than firewood.
The 6 kilos, we now sell it 100 Ghana cedis. And then the 14 is 239 Ghana cedis, and the 13 is 240. And then the 3 is 49 Ghana cedis. As at February this year, we're selling the 14.5 120 Ghana cedis. I say that is the standard that we use ahead. That is 120. And as at now, we are selling it 239, or double the price. And then somewhere February, the liter is 8 cedis 20 pesos per kilo of LPG. And now it's selling at 16.468. So I think double the price. So now the cost is too high.
When I get gas, sell a passion. Be an no cook man no be if you ready. She ngan pa ko ke o sun e ko me wa e choda ne chon.
Charcoal is expensive these days. Government must intervene.
She be an when you ngan be an transportation sake ni petrol la ngan no hani anything we.
Ngan ho mo le wadi shikade wo gba ke bi atu no ni wo ma me ho a ho.
I'm following in the tradition of my mother, but it is not as profitable these days.
Although aware of the actions on the environment, the producers say they have very little to do now as no intervention has reached them.
The charcoal business actually started in the era of their grandfathers. Now it continued, and then it is their time. It is their time because there's no alternative for them. So they have also decided to join. If you want to cultivate, let's say, maize in the rainy season, you will need to plow, and you have to pay for that. You need to buy fertilizer, you have to pay for that. You need to buy weedicides. So all this, what you have in the family, you cannot sell it to go and buy. So you have to burn the charcoal, use it for the farming, and then you also use it to feed the family. The charcoal business or the charcoal production is very difficult. So nobody is willing to go into charcoal production except if you have no option.
Ready to accept any new technology to save the ecology other than a policy that will force them out of business, as it is also important that the restoration process respects local stakeholders' rights.
Government is trying to phase their business out by replacing it with the use of LPG. If government is trying to replace this, then government should find a way of helping them, either by getting them some dams so that they can do dry season farming, especially with vegetables. So if they have an option to go into the production of vegetables, they will prefer that. If they ask them to stop, they can stop. But those in cities, they are going to suffer because that is their source of energy.
And so here at Wulugu in the northeast region, what would be the relevant employment opportunity to be created for these people in this area of the country, relevant enough to move them away from charcoal production?
One significant question you ask yourself is, places where we don't have the luxury of shade trees and other trees that we can fell to produce charcoal, how do they live? That is one question we must ask ourselves. So those that are lucky to have the shade tree and they think that they can destroy it for charcoal should learn a lesson from areas where we don't have the shade tree. How do they survive? I can understand that government has a responsibility to provide decent jobs for the people. But let's be honest with ourselves. There's no country in the world where any government has been able to provide jobs for everybody that has to do work. So I think that the alternatives are there. For instance, we have very good arable land in this our region that you can crop many cereals and even the tubers. People should think about that alternative. Going forward, we will provide skills training centers for the youth so that people will learn these artisanal works, and I believe that that will come in handy. Another thing I will want to encourage is that for now we have only one vocational technical school in the region. They train young people in handy works, and those who complete the vocational institutions and come out, they are able to fend for themselves. So we are working to get 2 more of such vocational institutes established in the region. That will open up opportunities for more young people to be engaged.
What will be the sustainable way to generate charcoal?
The first step is to reduce the demand on wood, because in Ghana the production of charcoal is mainly done very inefficient using traditional kilns. So you need around 10 tons of wood for producing 1 ton of charcoal. But with more efficient technologies, methods, you can reduce this demand by half. So you only need 5 tons of wood for 1 ton of charcoal.
As a forestry commission, we have been encouraging people to establish woodlots, and you can do so on rotational basis. For example, if you have, let's say, 4 acres of land, each year you can plant 1 acre, and then you harvest the first year, the second year, the second one will be ready, the third and the fourth. And by the time you go around the 4th time, you go to the first one and you can harvest. And the good thing for the charcoal species is also that once you cut it, it coppers, that is, it grows, and you can still have some wood for your firewood and for your charcoal.
We want to move from that informal space into a formalized economy where people would take up charcoal production as a business and also do so sustainably. Currently, we heavily regulate the charcoal exports sector. So you cannot just wake up, go and buy charcoal from the open market and export. If you want to export charcoal, you have to come for a license, produce the charcoal yourself by using improved production technologies. We are also promoting the use of pellets, briquettes, and other cleaner cooking fuels such as ethanol and then LPG. And we expect that by the year 2030, 50% of the population will have access to cleaner cooking solutions or fuels.
If the approach of a sustainable way of generating charcoal helps curb emissions and is good for the environment, then can the effects of charcoal production and use affect the country's transition to a green economy in the face of the ensuing challenges?
I do envisage that with the efforts that government is putting in transitioning from the use of wood fuels to cleaner cooking fuels, we would be seeing a gradual reduction from now to the year 2030 on our dependence on wood fuels. So I rather see a decline rather than an increase. But as I said, the target is to achieve 50% by using LPG. If we are also able to bring down the cost of electricity, then that will also push people to use electricity for cooking, which is the highest form of cleaner fuel for cooking. So once we get the cost down, we also get people transition into the use of that. Then also, don't let us forget that we are tackling the issues both at the production of the fuel end and then the consumption. So by introducing the improved cook stoves, that will lead to reduction in the use of the fuels, because you now will use lesser amount of fuel to do the same amount of cooking that you would have used if you were depending on the inefficient cook stoves, as well as the introduction of the briquettes, the pellets, the ethanol for cooking. So we are using all the resources available in the country to help in us transitioning.
The people are feeling the effects of global warming. They are feeling the economic impacts of cutting down the trees just to burn charcoal. You go and sell, and that is it. You don't have any. So I think that we have visited this unfortunate situation on ourselves, and it will take us to make a conscious effort to remedy it. So I think that the assemblies and the Regional Coordinating Council, we are working together to sensitize the people. Well, the experts will tell you that when you even plant a shade tree, it may not fruit as much as those that will grow naturally. And even when you plant, it will take you a minimum of 15 years before you begin to get the benefits. So I think that it's something that we are taking in our strides, and we will succeed.
The Forestry Commission, we have a very aggressive reforestation program, and under that we have quite a number of interventions that we undertake. One of it being the modified tonja system, where farmers grow tree crops alongside the food crops for a period, and then when the canopy closes, they exit. So once those trees are ready, the byproducts of such trees will be used for charcoal. We also have felling of teak or other species for timber purposes, and the byproducts, all the branches and all the offcuts that cannot be used for any products are also used for charcoal. So there are quite a number of material products that we get the excesses and use them for charcoal purposes. So as a Forestry Commission, these are some of the things that we are doing to ensure that we can sustainably produce charcoal.
Few years ago, the Gonja Traditional Council took a drastic decision to ban illegal logging and commercial charcoal production on Gonja land and its environs due to the massive destruction caused to the environment. As of now, what has become of that policy and its impact on the environment, which had exposed the human factor to all manner of environmental hazards out of the effects of the menace? Learning from the principles of landscape restoration to have tailor-made local solutions of no one-size-fits-all. How is government meeting the local, social, economic and ecological needs of the different charcoal hubs in the country?
It's a problem on our hands, but then we have got to balance the situation. As much as we discourage production of charcoal and encourage the use of LPG, we will continue to manage the system, punish the wrongdoers, and then ensure compliance, that we do not rampantly destroy the forest or wood loss in the name of charcoal production. Not because most people are in commercial charcoal production simply because they do not have any other thing to do. These are commercial production that also goes into business and profit making. And so we can draw the lines along the line. Various projects, including the Red Plus, including the Garner landscape restoration activities, all have components of alternative livelihood applications.
For Dawuni Isaac, nursing of his beans has begun, and he is assured of some good yields after applying fertilizer bought from monies generated from selling charcoal. As it stands, if the price of fertilizer continues to go up, so will Isaac be forced to clear more trees to purchase enough fertilizer to apply according to the size of his farm. From reports, the demand for charcoal will rise to 2.8 million tons due to population growth, especially in cities. This means the demand may put a strain on the land use subsector or disrupts restoration actions if actors do not scale up the measures to outweigh demand and save the existing landscape for future generations.